Remind people that job interviews can happen at any time, and you need to be ready for job interviews that happen without you being able to prepare much, because your life carries on. You might have a full-time job, you might be busy with kids or family, and an employer calls you, or a hiring manager, recruiter calls you and wants to speak to you that afternoon. How do you prepare? It's really hard, and it's stressful for you to know how to use the time that you have, whatever little time you have, to get ready for that job interview. Hello and welcome to my virtual office. My name is Renata Bernardi. I am the host of the Job Hunting Podcast, and I also run live career coaching sessions every week. If you're listening to this, you're about to listen to one of these live coaching sessions, so welcome. If you're keen to participate live, you can join me on my Facebook page. That's where I run them every Thursday, 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. But if that's not a good time for you, it doesn't matter. They are recorded, and then I post them on my Facebook page, on my website, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. There is a platform for you to follow me, so click the buttons and follow me wherever you found me. I'd love to keep in touch with you. And you can sign up to my newsletter, and I will send you a weekly newsletter with the job hunting podcast of the week, articles about career, and that will help you progress in your career advancement and your job hunting pursuits. I'd love to help you, so keep in touch. I can see everything is going well, so I'm going to start. For those of you who don't know me and just happened by happenstance to find this live feed on Instagram or on Facebook, my name is Renata Bernardi. I'm a career coach, and I do a live career coaching session every week on Facebook and on Instagram here Thursday, 12 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. We go on for about 30 minutes, and then I say my goodbyes to my Facebook page and my Instagram, and I hop into my private Facebook group, which is free. Everybody can join, but that Facebook group is a really special group of people. These are job seekers, people that are in between jobs, or people that are really keen to advancing their careers, and we have a safe space for people to communicate, share knowledge, share questions, and I give a little bit more love to them, and that content is not shared, it's kept private. So if you want a little bit more of intelligence, a little bit more of me, join that group, because I tend to give more love and care to that private group, and it's growing. It's small, but it's growing, and it's there to help job hunters and career enthusiasts. So don't forget to join that group. What else? Every Tuesday, I also have the job hunting podcast episodes that launch weekly. This week we had a wonderful interview with Dina Pozo. Dina is a consultant and a research with an expertise in courage in the workplace. She has been trained by no other than Brené Brown herself, which makes me incredibly jealous, because we all, in this space of coaching and career development and personal development, of course, we love Brené Brown's work of courage, bravery, vulnerability. She has really changed the way that leadership is thought, that the whole way that we and develop professionals really these days, to embrace their vulnerabilities and see that as an act of bravery. So it's really a powerful virtue to have. And I interview her, and we focus on job hunting and the courage needed to embrace that in times of uncertainty right now. All my episodes are not time sensitive, but we have been focusing a lot on issues that are affecting job hunters in the current circumstances of COVID-19 and the economic implications, loss of jobs, and how to prepare themselves for jobs of the future and to apply for future opportunities as they start to happen. And that's what we're here for. We're here to support. Never have I ever thought that I would be supporting job hunters and career changes in such a difficult and challenging time, but more so than ever, I want to be here for you. So, twice a week, Tuesdays, job hunting podcast, Thursdays, live coaching. All of that content is on my website, on my blog. So, if you missed this episode, you will find me there. So don't forget to leave me Baden-Württemberg. I'm glad you're here. You've been told to be here. Waving back at you. Don't forget to leave a comment if you are on Facebook. I won't be able to see comments. I have a few there. Hi, Stephanie. Nice to see you. Bart, your friend Bart is on Instagram, so you've done well. Thanks for bringing him on board. But I always check the comments later, and if there are questions, I will answer them. I will make sure that I address them. So if you have a comment, please don't forget to leave them here. Forehand Financial is saying one of my friends was unemployed for 6 months and then the pandemic started. I have quite a few people that are in that same situation as well here in Australia. If you think about what's happening with Virgin Australia here in Australia, they're under administration now. Back in December, we were already supporting people that have been made redundant by Virgin. So they're crisis, their financial situation is happened before COVID-19 for sure, and restructures happen all the time, especially at the end of the year. So if you think about the way that restructures are often made, they are often made at the end of the year. So when it comes to a pandemic happening at the beginning of the year, some people have been made redundant back in November, December. And then, we come March, we have this situation. So it's really challenging. If you have your friends and you want to refer them to this website and also to my newsletter, it's a great way to bring them on board, and I will take very good care of them. So please refer my content to your friends and family and people that you think will benefit from watching this and listening to this later. Today we're going to be addressing a topic that I really like. It's about job interviews, and I really like to prepare my clients for job interviews, and also to remind people that job interviews can happen at any time, and you need to be ready for job interviews that happen without you being able to prepare much, because your life carries on. You might have a full-time job, you might be busy with kids or family, and an employer calls you, or a hiring manager, recruiter calls you and wants to speak to you that afternoon. How do you prepare? It's really hard, and it's stressful for you to know how to use the time that you have, whatever little time you have, to get ready for that job interview. Now, I have done a lot of podcasts on job interviews in the past. Basically, the whole, 10 first podcasts that I've done when I started this project back in November have been on job interviews. So please go back to that backlog and listen to them. I will mention a few here because I've addressed some of these issues before. But what we're going to try to address is what makes the biggest impact? What if you only have a few hours? What if you only have a day? And if you have your fail story or your success story of how you dealt with that last minute job interview, please leave them in the comments, because I love to read them. Me personally, I have quite a few. As you know, if you're following me, of course. If you're not, I'll tell you, I became a career coach because I have been in the corporate sector and the not-for-profit sector for many decades, and for that reason I've applied for many jobs, and I've been successful and unsuccessful many times. So I have a lot of personal experience to share as well. I remember once going through a recruitment process, being told I wasn't going to continue, so I threw away all my notes. I remember I'm like, oh, I'm so sick and tired of this. It was a block of notes like this thick, and I threw them away. Months later, I was contacted by the headhunter again saying, can you come to Sydney? tomorrow. And I had completely lost track of where they were at, and I didn't remember my notes anymore. Off I went with little sleep, and apparently I performed really poorly at that job interview, but I got the job anyway. I don't know what happened. But it was also a situation where I knew my boss was going to be at the airport at the same time, so I was trying to avoid being on the same plane as him. And I didn't want him to see me, so I was avoiding the taxi rank. It was just, if you want to know more about how to apply for jobs while being at full-time job, and how, in my opinion, you shouldn't tell people that you are applying for jobs, go to podcast number 7. Podcast number 7, how to attend an interview when you work full-time, right? And my recommendation is to never tell people that you're looking for work. And the other very strange one I had was for my first job in Australia. And I have a podcast for that as well. It's number 18, my career story. That one was hilarious because I went thinking it was a job interview, but it wasn't. It was basically, he was giving me the job. He had already decided to give me the job and I didn't know. So I went all prepared with my resume and he basically gave me the key to the office, and it was an induction. And I thought it was a job interview. It was really hilarious. Um, so let's go to the dot points that I prepared for today, okay? First one, guess what? I'm the sort of coach that treats my clients as if they were sports people. So if you are job hunting and you're going through career transition, I will insist that my clients take very good care of themselves first, so that when an emergency situation presents itself, like a job interview or an important conversation, they feel rested, they feel ready, they feel confident, right? So sleep is really important. Hydration, nutrition, exercise, having a great routine and being ready for that is really important. I also put a lot of preparation on what I call the left side of the equation. A lot of the thinking and the pitch preparation and the narrative preparation. There's no better time than the quarantine time to do that. So I strongly recommend to those who are in between jobs to put a lot of effort now to do that prepping, to do that pitch development and that narrative development, so that when you have a conversation with a recruiter or a hiring manager, you feel ready, right? So build yourself a routine, treat yourself as if you were employed, you're employed by yourself, have a good sleep routine, hydration, nutrition. It's really important. I have a client at the moment, I think I mentioned in one of the previous live coachings before, we did the first couple of weeks together and he said, I'm good, I've started sleeping. I don't think I need anything else, I'm just, my mind is clear. And he basically noticed that he wasn't sleeping, and that in itself was making him very anxious. So there you go. So that's the first thing that I recommend, right? I'm coaching clients and I'm coaching you for a marathon, and I want you to be prepared and physically and mentally for that. The second thing I want to insist is that you have a setup ready. Now, it doesn't have to be fancy with, fancy lighting and cameras I have, but find a space in your house that you can take a video conference call at whatever time. It doesn't matter what time it is. It needs to be a safe space and it needs to be ready for you. It can be inside a wardrobe. I don't care. But it needs to be a space where the dog's not going to jump on you, a kid's not going to come. I know it's hard. I know we're all on lockdown. Many of you are still in lockdown mode, but you have to find a space. So find that space. I've mentioned to you before, I noticed my neighbor across the road has been renovating his house because we all decided years ago that we wanted to live in open plan living. Well, that doesn't suit us anymore, does it? We can't all live in open plan living. So find a space that is comfortable, that is safe, that has a background that you like. If you don't have a good background, put a screen on, like Dina Poser did on the podcast on Tuesday. So if you've listened or watched, if you've watched my podcast, because we filmed it, you will see that Dina has a background that she chose. Good way to hide if you don't want people to see, the mess behind you. I'm not saying your house is messy, Dina, but you get the point, right? So get a background on Zoom and get ready to take that call. And your personal presentation as well. Now, my husband hasn't shaved for a gazillion years. Lucky he has a job, but if he had been, job hunting, I would tell him, mate, you have to do something about that facial hair, right? If you want to have a beard, at least treat it properly and take good care of it. So make sure that you're ready, because the situation will show up and you don't want to be, shaving last minute. You don't want to be, doing things last minute. You want to be ready. Research company and interview panel members. So if you're going to go into a call with people and you only have a couple of hours to prepare, the first thing you need to do is to know who they are. Now, this seems so common sense to me, but many times my clients haven't really realized it until I've mentioned it to them, that the first thing they need to know is who they're talking to. Go on LinkedIn, search who they are, find out more about them. It's easier to relate, to find common ground if you know who you're talking to. It might be that there is somebody in common, or it might be that you know them, right? So it's better to initiate that small talk, or, it's just good to know, right? And it might even help you tailor how you're going to address the questions, what you're going to focus on, if you know what their interests are. So if they are from the finance side of the business, or if they are from the marketing side of the business, it will make a difference on what their interests are. And research the company as well. So if this is a resume you left with a headhunter or a recruiter, and now you're going to talk to them about a specific company, it's time for you to do a little research on the company. And it's not just a company website. Go company website first, Wikipedia second, and then Google News. You want to know if there's anything important that's happening right now with that company, and it's important to know. Sometimes it will be a CEO that has left. Sometimes it will be that they're not doing so well, they're restructuring, or they've done something interesting during this COVID time. It's really important for you to check Google, but especially Google News. Tricks for remembering things and being ready for action. Okay, so some tricks. These tricks that I have are usually good if you have more time to prepare, but you can try to use them as well for short periods of time. Tell me if they work for you, okay? One thing that I do, and I recommend people to do, is this. I don't know that I have any here anymore. Oh, maybe I do. Okay, chewing gum. Guys, this is research. I know it's strange, but I love spearmint chewing gum. However, when I am preparing for a big meeting, a big presentation, a big interview, I would swap and I would buy the strawberry flavor, which is not my favorite, but it's a different flavor altogether. And whenever I'm preparing and I'm doing research and I'm, doing notes about it, doing my presentation, I will be chewing that gum instead. And just before I walk into that meeting, that's the gum I'm chewing. Now, you may from now on, observe athletes as they walk into an arena. They are chewing. I don't know if they are following this research or if it's just me, but I chew. If you're not a chewing gum fan, that's fine. You can do lollies, or I have also in the past done perfume. So if I use one brand of perfume, sorry, I'm holding a bottle here. If I use one brand of perfume regularly, I would swap and I will use a different perfume, just so that, that scent is kind of newish to me. And I would use that when I'm prepping for that interview or that presentation, and I would use that as I walk into the meeting and the interview and whatnot. Why? Because these things help. In fact, if you have kids or if you are studying and you're studying for exams, these things do help you trigger your memory, help you prepare, help you find the words. It help you go back to that point in time when you were researching that company, preparing your narrative, preparing your pitch, right? So that's a trick that I use. Also, it's important for you to say things out loud. And I know you will sound crazy, but many times in this office of mine, I close the door and I talk out loud. And my husband will think that I'm talking to people. I'm not. I pretend that I'm talking to you, getting ready for you. It's just me getting the words right in my mouth. And it could be, especially in these times of lockdown, that you haven't spoken for hours. You've just been quiet and silent for hours. All of a sudden, you have to find the words to have a very important interview, and they don't come to you. So prepare just before the meeting, talk out loud, and find the right words. And it could be that when the meeting comes, you won't say exactly what you've prepared. Don't try to repeat. That's not the point. It's just you getting the flow on, getting used to your own voice and to saying the things that you want to say. Now, the first impression and the first few sentences are really important. We all know that. And I know it's vain, and I know it's shallow, and I know it's, not how it should be, but it is how it is. So be ready to, when that interview happens, be it face to face, but most likely these days it will be a video interview, for you to come to screen with a smile, looking at the camera, saying hello, feeling excited, smiling with your eyes, smiling with your voice. Show that you care, show that you're interested, and that you are in the moment right there and then. Nothing else matters around the house. If there is an interruption, if there is a technology glitch, if whatever happens, you will fix it. Okay? Because what matters now is that connection that you are making with the people that want to hear from you. And this is the most important thing. And nothing you say will be as important as that first moment. Sorry, but that's the truth. And I want you to feel super confident. Imagine this. There's a reason why they want to talk to you. They've invited you in to have a chat, or you positioned yourself well. Let's say you made all the legwork to make it happen. Good for you. Now you go there and you deliver, especially in those first few seconds. That first minute is really important. Okay? Now, if you really haven't had a lot of time to prepare, my friend, the best thing that you can do, even if you have prepared a lot, is this: let them talk. Let them do the talking first. It's really important to have a 50-50% approach, even in job interviews. Now, this is counterintuitive for a lot of people. They think that because they're going into a job interview, they need to do all the shining and they need to do most of the talking, and they need to give lots of examples and justifications and position themselves well for the job, right? Wrong. What you want to do is ask them a lot of good questions. Let them do the long introduction first. Don't interrupt. Nod and listen carefully. And then as you listen, start thinking about what you were going to say and start maybe tweaking it so that it fits well with their narrative, with the words that they're using. It may be that you come from a different sector and you use a different word for that same type of work. Remember those words, make notes, write it down, and then come and say your piece. And then ask, is this where you were expecting? Would you like to, can I go on? Or, what would you like to know more about this? Would you like to know more about this specific project? Invite them in to be a participant in your story. That's really important. People like to talk. and they feel proud about the organizations. If the organization is growing and they're hiring a new person, they want to let you know. If the organization just lost somebody that they really cared about and they're replacing and they're looking for a replacement, they want to let you know. So let them talk, and it will be good for you, because if you hadn't had a lot of time to prepare, it's it's a good ping pong that you're doing with your potential future employer. Now I have lots of extra free resources that you can access. I'm going to stop now, otherwise this is going to get too long. Remember that my first podcasts are all about job interviews. So number 1, number 2, number 5, number 6, number 9, number 7, as I mentioned before, how to attend a job interview when you work full time. I mentioned my career story. It's not really about job interview, but it has that funny story about, my first job. And just going back through the topics that I mentioned before. Take care of yourself as if you are an athlete going for a marathon. So sleep, hydration, nutrition, and prep. Build your routine so that when something comes up last minute, you feel ready and you feel confident about what you've prepared. Make sure that you have your video setting ready, because most likely this will be a video interview. If you have zero time to prepare, at least check who you're talking to and research the company, especially news. You want to know relevant, actual news information about this company, not just the standard, what's your purpose, what's your goals. Most of those goals and purposes are very much the same, quite frankly. Tricks for remembering things and being ready for action. Remember the chewing gum thing and the perfumes thing. See if you want to try that. I use that all the time. It works for me. Exercising and routines before meeting. I'm not going to talk to you about that today. Your first impression and the first sentences, that's really good. Make sure that you make that first impression count for you. Let them do the talking, especially if you haven't had time to do a lot of prepping. It will make you learn a lot about the organization, and then you can come in with the right cadence for that conversation and do it more of a ping pong than just you talking. And go back and have a look at the resources I have for job interviews for you, okay? Thank you. Thanks everybody that joined. I hope that you have left comments here and there, and I will look at all of your comments. I can see some on Facebook. I can see quite a few here on Instagram as well. Thank you so much, and bye for now. If you are on the job hunting podcast private group, I will see you in a few minutes. I hope you enjoyed the content this week. Remember, there is more content out there. Just find me and listen to the Job Hunting podcast as well. I have one episode every week, and there has been quite a lot of great content and great interviews in the past few weeks. So I hope that you enjoy that as well. Don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter and to follow me wherever you found this video. I'd love to keep in touch with you. Ciao for now.